experts in brain performance and accelerated learning.
Expert on optimal brain performance.
Boy with a broken brain.
Is the founder of Kwik Learning. Get ready to upgrade your brain with Jim Kwik.
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 Kwik Learning.
Jim.
Jim is a brain expert.
World's leading memory coach and New York Times bestselling author Jim Kwik.
Brain genius Jim Kwik.
Jim, the Brain Kwik.
This is a young boy who, when he was 5 years old, had a traumatic brain injury and spent the next 15, 16 years
On learning quickly.
Instead of simply accepting defeat, he set about making up for his shortcomings through an obscene amount of hard work.
Jim's book, Limitless, is a phenomenal bestseller.
His hyper-effective techniques have been sought out by the likes of Virgin,
Google, the United States Air Force,
Nike, Zappos,
Marriott, NBA,
SpaceX,
21st Century Fox,
Harvard, and Singularity University.
Mr. Jim Kwik is in this house.
Good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk in Your Community Time. And you guys, we are in for a special treat tonight. And so blessed to have one of my friends, Dr. JC, here with his friend, Jim Kwik. And you know what? We're going to dive into our mindset, right? The brain, and talk into that because, I mean, that's the biggest thing as we transform our body, right? We got to bring that brain along and start doing that. So I'm excited. The Limitless. I have my book here. I wish you could reach through, Jim, and sign it for me, but next time maybe we'll see you in person. So excited.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. It's good to see everybody joining us. And I know that we have a lot of people joining us on the live stream. I'm going to make this very quick. I gotcha. But my name is Dr. JC Dornick, and God, I'm coming up on my 20th anniversary of my health transformation. Oh, we got streamers coming up and everything, and coaching with Optavia, and it's just something that's completely transformed my life, as well as this gentleman that I'm about to tee up here is probably my bestie. He's my bestie for 25 years now. Jim and I have been great friends. We've just somehow managed to stick together. And I'm sure you know a lot about him, and you've just watched that short video about him. He's just an extraordinary human being. He's somebody that is just perfect to speak to us about this topic. I list his book, Limitless, as one of the top 5 most impactful books that I've ever read. But even more exciting, and you guys will probably hear a little bit of that, this is going to be new to me. He's got a brand new book that's coming out that everybody's been waiting for. So I'm so excited to hear what he has to say about this amazing topic. So guys, engage, take your phones and put them aside, unless you want to take like a selfie with the computer in front of you or something like that. You're about to hear from an extraordinary human that I just love and appreciate so much. So take it away, my brother.
JC, Amy, thank you so much. So great to be with this community. I'm just outside of New York City. Where is everybody? I'm a speed reader. We've trained countless individuals in every country in the world on how to read faster. How many of you have books on your shelf that you haven't read yet? Say yes in the chat. And it becomes shelf help, not self-help. So I teach people how to read 3 times faster and also to improve your memory. How many people came here today like to have a better memory? Say yes. Wow. Okay, this is a lot. How many forgot why you came here today? Have you ever done that? Anyone feel like senior moments are coming way too early? Like you feel a little absent-minded, you walk into a room of your own home and just forget why you're there. Or you read a page in a book, get to the end and just forgot what you just read. And you go back and you read it and you still don't know what you just read. How embarrassing. Or maybe you misplace things like your wallet, your purse, your cell phone, your car keys, or if not your car keys, you misplace your car. You ever see the people outside in the parking lots at the mall or something using their car alarm, like GP trying to figure out where they parked their car that day and they realized it took like a lift or something like that. My specialty is helping people learn faster. And that's what I've been doing for the past 34 years. Yes, I started when I was 5 years old. No, but now in my 50s, I'm really interested, very, very, very interested in preventing cognitive decline. You know, we have a a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and and I also am on a mission to build better, brighter brains. And so I'm really glad to be able to share with you. I encourage you to take some notes because this is going to be extremely practical. How many of you like to have things that are quick and simple to be able to stay consistent? Just say yes. Marty, yes. Janet, yes. Stephanie, yes. Cindy, there's a lot. I love this community. So engaging here. I don't know at what hour you're watching this right now, but or if you're watching this recorded. But I'm just grateful you're here because your most valuable asset, one of the most valuable assets you have, is your time. And if somebody wants, some of my time, they better have a great reason because that's things you don't get back. And so thank you for your time, your attention, and I really want to pour into you, right? Because most of you, and I know a number of people in this community, you're always pouring to others, right? You're taking care of your customers, your clients, your family, your friends, and but use this time. My friend Lisa Nichols says, you don't pour from your cup, right? You can't give what you don't have, right? She always says you pour from your saucer. Like make your cup overflowing, and then be able to give from that saucer. So I just want to make sure your cup is full after this the session we have today. So I'm gonna get started, and let me see. I'm a coach, so I don't want to lecture to anybody. I feel like, because of some of the struggles I went through, I've learned some lessons along the way. There's a quote in my book Limitless that says, "Life is the letter," and this is worth writing down. Life is the letter C between the letters B and D. What does that mean? Life is C between B and D. B stands for birth and D stands for death. Life, C, choice, right? Your life is just the sum total of all the choices you made up to this point, right? And I believe that these difficult times, they could diminish you, or these difficult times, they could distract you. Or you know what? These difficult times, they could develop you, right? We always decide. We could decide to get better, or we could decide to get bitter, right? And I'm going to talk about some of the choices that you can make to really fortify your body and your brain, right? Because your brain is part of your body. And it's kind of like the control center for everything. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Now, I was asked to talk about, mind, body, getting to flow states. How many of you are familiar with flow states? That state of flow where you feel your best and you perform your best. How many of you would like to have more of those experiences every single day, right? Where things become effortless. You lose your sense of time. You lose your sense of self. You're not worried about what other people think about things. So I'm going to talk about flow states and the science behind that, and give you some practical strategies where you can spend more time in flow, because it's such a healing state, right? We have an event that we've been doing since 2009. It's called Limitless Live, and we've had Stephen Kotler, who's one of the top authorities in the world on flow, and he was talking about all his chronic challenges. When it comes to his health, and how he was able to heal himself was to get into flow states, and he did it through surfing, right? And it's very meditative and very healing. But I'm going to show you how to find your way of getting into flow. And I'm excited about this. While there's a chapter in Limitless on flow design, I don't get to speak about it very often, but yet it is like the powerful state, right? All learning is state dependent, like life is state dependent, and flow state is like one of the most ultimate states. So I'm going to talk about the science and the strategies on how to access more flow. But in order to do that, I need your participation. All right. And I know this community, and if you're watching this, from whoever invited you to be able to join this, I feel like they gave you a gift. Not because I'm so great, because collectively we are, right? So I'm going to ask you to not just cognitively understand this, since this is about mind and body. How many of you are willing to play a game with me? Just you put in the chat also as well. Who are the fastest learners, by the way? Children, right? How fast can a child learn a musical instrument or another language? And so I think part of it is they're willing to play. And it's interesting. I was talking at an event. It was actually ours, and someone said, "Oh, I stopped playing because I grew older." And I was like, "Well, maybe you grew older because you stopped playing, right?" So I'm gonna ask everybody if you're willing to stand up, if you're able to, and you're not driving or doing something else. Stand up, everybody. And what I want you to do is let's just get in our body. And these are two exercises I do before I need to perform. right? Because it's the priming. It's not the performance. The performance is easy if you plan and you prepare and you prime yourself, right? So these are two simple things I do. It only takes a minute. So I would love to experiment with you. What I want you to do is I want you to take one hand and raise and touch your opposite knee and just go back and forth. Very simple. And slower is better. You don't have to go super fast. But this is an area of science called educational kinesiology. And when you cross the midline here, you help communication between your left and right brain, and it helps you to focus. You could breathe also. You could also smile. So you're raising your opposite knee, and you're touching with the opposite hand or elbow. And then I'd like you to do this, it's a little silly. Massage your earlobe with your opposite hand, and then do the other side too. You're like, what kind of training is this? And I want you to inhale and squat down, and exhale and squat up. I'm not going to go all the way down just so I can stay on camera, but inhale and go down, exhale, come on up. And you can smile again. Inhale, go down, exhale, come on up, and one more time. Inhale, go down. And I'm imagining you're doing this too, so it's not just us on the screen doing that. But just notice, get in your body. Notice how you feel. Right there is a mind-body connection, but there's also a body-mind connection. And as your body moves, here's a great principle to write down. As your body moves, your brain grooves. As your body moves, your brain grooves. I love this because knowledge, right, is not power by itself, right? It becomes power when we utilize it, when we act on it. And so I love everyone is doing this, and I love how everyone support each other with questions and answering each other's also as well. All right, so I would challenge you whenever you need to perform. You need to be focused on in a meeting. You're going on a sales call. You're with your kids. You could even do this with children also as well. The other one we were doing where we're massaging our earlobes and going inhaling down and up, that's called super brain yoga. Super brain yoga. We have a video on this, it has like 6 million views. Just simple exercise you could do to challenge yourself. All right. So let's get back to flow. What if I told you that maybe, and I know this is a lot of health enthusiasts here, right? How many of you would like to have greater levels of lifespan, right? You want to add years to your life. And then also not just, like your lifespan, which is a number, in terms of years in your life, but also health span, right? You want to have more life in your years, right? You want those to be healthy. And I talk a lot about cognitive span because Limitless has sold a couple million copies, since it came out a few years ago. We donated all the proceeds to charity. We built schools in Ghana, Guatemala, Kenya, for girls who didn't have access to education, and provided health care to keep them healthy for them and their families, clean water, but also donating to research for women's Alzheimer's. Women are twice as likely to experience Alzheimer's than men. I lost my grandmother shortly after I had my brain injury, and I was diagnosed with all these learning difficulties. She passed when I was 7, so I do it in her memory. But maybe one of the greatest challenges to our health is not our time or money or even environment. I think I think a lot of it goes back to state. And when I say state, it's kind of like a snapshot of your mood, of your mind and your body. Because again, all learning and life is state dependent. Because the truth is you don't always get what you want. You get what your brain is trained to do automatically, right? And I feel like that first we create our habits, and then our habits create us, right? You create your habits of eating well, making your shakes, right? Having your mini snacks, to be able to get your certain steps in, right? To prioritize your sleep, and those habits create you back, right? And so we don't always rise to the level of our dreams. Sometimes we fall to the level of our habits. Yet Duke University reported that 40% of your behavior every single day is habitual, right? It's unconscious. It's on autopilot, And so most people are trying, they want to change their body, but if you don't upgrade the operating system that influences it or even controls it, that can be a challenge. So that's what I want to talk about today, because have you ever known exactly what to do? but you don't do what you know, right? You had a plan, you had an intention, and for some reason, maybe you didn't follow through. It's not always, in my experience, a discipline challenge. It's a state challenge, right? And it's hard for me to say problem. We had the late Quincy Jones. He would come to our events, and iconic music producer. And I had to bring him on stage one time to do a fireside chat. It was kind of impromptu, and I was like, tell me about all the challenge, the problems you've had, and are dealing with right now. And he's like, at 80 something, he's like, I don't have any problems. I'm like, everyone knows your successes and Thriller and with things like We Are the World, but he's like, no, because I want to hear about the challenge, the problems. He's like, I don't have any problems. I have puzzles. And I thought, wow, isn't it interesting that the words that we use change our state? Like I even myself, I catch myself, we talk a lot about metacognition, which I think is, a lot of things they don't teach you in school, right? They teach you what to learn or what to think or what to remember. But where are the classes on how to learn, right? How to think, how to remember things better, right? They teach you 3 R's in school: reading, writing, arithmetic. But what about retention? What about recall? What about Socrates said learning is remembering, right? But I just like even recently I was like, oh, I gotta take my son to school, right? Or oh, I gotta work out, right? Or I gotta whatever. But even if you change it like a little word like got to get, it just changes everything, right? I get to take my son to school. I get to move my body and work out today, right? I get to meditate, whatever it is you need to be able to do, because it changes your state. And I start with the body because that's a wonderful way of changing your state of how you feel. Like right now, sit the way be sitting if you're totally excited that we're together right now. Like totally excited, you're totally enthusiastic. Sit the way you be sitting. And my question is, why do you even have to move? Right? But your physiology is going to affect your psychology. Right? Here's another thing. Everyone watching me, do this. Shake out one hand. This is key. How many of you want to be able to remember names better? Everybody, don't. You shouldn't type because shake out your hand. Do this. Can you see me? Watch me. All right, make a fist. Put it to your chin. Now, everybody, where's your chin? All right, this is your cheek. This is your chin. But a big part of the art of memory, for example, the art of learning is the art of attention. And a lot of times we're just not paying attention, right, to a name. Somebody tells you their name, you have this incredible supercomputer. You can remember that, but are we really paying attention? Because sometimes part of being in flow state is you're present, right? Where flow state is where focus becomes effortless, motivation becomes automatic, and healthy habits become who you are, right? At an identity level, which is huge. By the way, how many of you, Deneen, Joe, how many of you touch your cheek, by the way? I'm just out of curiosity in the chat. A lot of me's. Cindy, Dave, Diana, Linda. So let's talk about the flow state. All right. This is where your mind stops fighting your body. Your brain starts working for your goals. And I feel like transformation becomes inevitable because I feel like this conversation is about transcending. If you think about the word transcend, ending the trance, like there's this massive gnosis, whether it's through media or marketing that says, that maybe they were broken, that we need to be fixed, and or self-hypnosis, the things we say to ourselves, right? That, who am I to deserve this, right? Or something like, oh, I procrastinate all the time. Like people at events see me memorize 100 people's names in an audience, and I think it's a very important business etiquette skill, right? Because how are you going to sell your product or service, and show people that you care if you don't care enough just to remember their name, right? And they say a name is the sweetest sound to a person's ears. But at these same events, people come to me and say, Jim, in private, always whispering in the lobby somewhere, and say, Jim, I'm so glad you're here. I'm just not that smart. I have a horrible memory. I'm getting too old. And I always say the same thing. And I offer this to you. I say, stop, right? And I say, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. Then they're yours. Your mind, your brain is just an incredible supercomputer, and your self-talk is the program it will run. So if you tell yourself, I'm not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to. If you truly understood how powerful your mind is, I would suggest you wouldn't say or think something that you didn't want to be true. And that's not to say you have a negative thought and ruins your life any more than eating that donut will, just one donut will ruin your life. But if you ate that donut, and this is not metabolically healthy, so if we were to have that conversation, if you're gonna eat that donut 30 times a day, every single day, there's gonna be a consequence. Same thing with our thoughts, right? It's hard to create a positive life with a negative mind. So a flow state is where three things are present. You lose track of time, right? Things become effortless, and you lose your sense of self, right? But it's a state where you perform your best and you feel your best. And athletes, again, they call it the zone, right? But what most people don't realize is flow. How many of you experienced this? Where you've experienced flow state? Maybe you're writing or you're doing something that you love, and you lose track of time, self. You don't know how art. For and it's different. There are different triggers for each person, but flow is not random. But flow is very trainable, right? Neuroscience shows that when you're in flow, your prefrontal cortex, it quiets down, so you're not overthinking. All right. So thinking is good, but overthinking and wanting everything to be perfect, probably analysis paralysis, probably is not great. Your dopamine increases, and dopamine is the molecule of motivation. So that happens during flow states naturally. You have neuroepinephrine, which is increasing your focus, and you have these amazing endorphins, right? Which is your feel good energy. So instead of forcing behavior, you become the version of yourself that naturally does the behavior. And that's the difference between willpower, which is very finite, and flow, which is self renewing, right? Now, how do you get to that place? Well, understand that your mind is affecting your body just like your body is affecting your mind. I always talk about even little things to challenge yourself, like brushing your teeth with the opposite hand. I've been talking about that for 30 years, and I'm starting to see these memes about it because it activates a different part of your brain, but it helps you to focus, right? And your focus is a muscle. Yet, what's the first thing most people, 95% or more people, do first thing in the morning when they're the most suggestible, relaxed state? What are they doing? They grab their device, right? They grab their phone. And so you're so suggestible, and you're using this. And I have a video with Simon Sinek. Some of you know, Start With Why, on Facebook. It's 9 years old, this video. It has 38 million views. And it's just me saying, don't touch your phone for the first 30 minutes to an hour of the day, right? Because what it does, it wires your brain for distraction, right? Every like, share, app notification, social media alert is driving you to distraction, and you flex your distraction muscles, and you wonder why you can't focus at work or with your family. And the other thing it does is it rewires your brain not only for distraction, but reaction, which is almost as dangerous. You're on the defense, right? You're fighting fires. And how many of you struggle with burnout? Anyone here just feel mentally exhausted or know somebody? And I would suggest, and I would challenge you, sometimes we're burnt out not because we're doing too much. Listen to what I'm about to say. Sometimes you're burnt out not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too little of the things that matter, the things that light you up. And I would even put self-care in there also, because self-care is not selfish. But your body is going to follow your brain, your habits are going to follow your identity, your results are going to follow your state, right? Most people want to change their behavior. What should I eat? What should I do? How many of you have a to-do list? A to-do list? I have one, certainly. I would challenge you tomorrow, start your day with a to-be list. A to-be list. It's because the syntax of success is be, do, have, share, right? And it has to be in that order. Now, what happens when people try to jump to the have part? They play the lottery, right? But statistically, you know this, right? Or you've heard it, or you intuitively get this, right? What happens to the majority of lottery winners? B, do, have, share. Yeah, they go broke. They lose all of it and more. Because what happened? B, do, have, share. They jumped to have. They have tens of millions of dollars, but they were never being a multimillionaire, right? At an identity level. So they were doing the things for financial wealth and abundance, right? And even your beliefs about money, you could have a great method and a great system to be able to generate uh, residual income, recurring, felt like really kind of change the trajectory of your and create generational wealth. Yet, if we're gonna go and jump to there, but if your beliefs around money are like you have to hurt people to make money, money is the root of all evil, money doesn't grow on trees, then you're still stuck, right? And I think in life, like the truth is, as a coach, I have to say this: sometimes change can be scary. It's the unknown, right? And growth sometimes can be hard, but nothing is as scary and hard as being stuck somewhere you don't belong, right? And so what I'm thinking about this is you have a to be list, even if I'm having a spirited debate with my wife, right? Right? Like, what's my outcome there? Like maybe I have to think like most people say, oh, what do I need to do? What do I need to say to make this better? But then I just step back and say, what's my to be list? Who do I want to be? And maybe it's loving, compassionate. And then the saying and the doing kind of takes care of itself, right? Because identity is driving your behavior. And I think that, when I talk about, we have this mantra about, I am limitless, and limitless is not about being perfect. Limitless is about advancing and progressing beyond what you're currently demonstrating or what you believe is possible. Right. So maybe instead of saying I'm trying to eat healthy, it's like I am. They say that one of my mentors, Wayne Dyer, said the two most powerful words in the English language are the shortest, I am, because whatever you put behind that is your life, your destiny. But maybe it's not I'm trying to eat healthy. Maybe it's an I am. I am someone who fuels my body, for energy and clarity. Right. And it's something that's like, because your brain is always asking, you know, is this who I am? Because if you see yourself as a procrastinator and that's your identity, you wonder why you put things off, even though it's important things that you know that you should do. So let me give you 4 keys to getting into this flow state. Make it incredibly practical. I use a lot of acronyms just for easy to remember. I want you to just write down or think about the word calm, C-A-L-M, calm. Optimal health community for so good. All right, the C stands for clarity. Clarity is power. Like even when I wake up in the morning, before I even touch my phone or anything else, I do this visualization exercise. I would challenge you to do it first thing in the morning, and just try for a week. And what I do is I fast forward and I imagine myself coming back to bed, or I'm getting ready for bed, and somebody calls me up, or someone in the family asks me, "How was your day?" And I imagine myself saying, "Wow, today was amazing. Today was such an incredible day, right? Crushed it today." And then I say, "Okay, if I'm saying that and feeling that, what had to happen in order for me to feel that way?" Right? And I come up with 3 things personally, 3 things professionally, and those are the 6 things I focus on, because it's not even about time management. Right. That's the one thing that's equal. Not everyone has equal income or network or relationships or education or whatever, but everybody has that 24 hours in a day. Right. That's the one thing. But it's not even about time management. It's about mind management. It's about priority management. And just think about it. The most important thing is to keep the most important thing the most important thing. The most important thing is to keep the most important thing the most important thing. Right. And that's what those 6 things are my most important things I'm going to focus on that day. Because in sports, if you follow sports and you're celebrating, because there's a scoreboard, but you're not creating that. Are you creating that same scoreboard, that metric inside your mind? So it's really for me about mind management, right? So instead of saying something like, I want to get healthier, I go back into clarity saying, I will walk 20 minutes after lunch every day to help me with my, insulin resistance, my glucose, so such like that, right? So clarity creates momentum, and that's the C. The A in calm is your attention. right? Where focus goes, you've heard this, energy flows. But we live in an incredibly distracted world, right? So here's your upgrade. How many of you multitask to be able to keep up with your daily demands? Let me. So in actuality, you're not multitasking. Multitasking is a myth. What you're doing is you're task switching. And so you're going from one task to another to back again. And the thing that you think you're gaining, you're losing. You're losing time because it could take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to regain your focus. The second cost to you when you multitask, and get you out of flow state, absolutely, because focus is a prerequisite for flow. But the second thing that you lose besides time is you make more mistakes. I work with a lot of doctors and surgeons, and when surgeons are trying to multitask, there'll be more surgical errors. It's like driving and texting. You can't do two cognitive activities well at once, so there are going to be more accidents. And then also, a big one, how many struggle with like mental fatigue, some brain fog? Maybe you have too many tabs open because to go from one task and you light up, imagine you're lighting up like your a neuro web, a cognitive web here when you're doing a task, like checking email, and you switch to something else and you shut this down, turn this on, it uses an immense amount of glucose, an immense amount of energy, right? So if you feel tired, I would recommend monotasking over multitasking. And so single task your health, like when you're eating, don't be doing work because it takes you out of the parasympathetic rest and digest, right? Just eat. Like most people don't even taste their food. Right. And also eating, if you're doing it socially, we have a podcast that has over 100 million downloads, and we had the director of the longest study on longevity and happiness. And he said, yes, absolutely. Diet is important, exercise is important. In their findings, what trumps it is your social connections, right? The depth of your relationships, not just romantic. So, it's not just your neurological networks, it's your social networks, all right? But if you're moving, just move, right? And so monotasking. The L in calm is level. Now, this is really big. Flow states happen when you challenge yourself because it's your competency and your challenge. And it has to be a level where, because here's the thing, if it is too challenging and your competency for that task is too low, then it's stress, right? Big challenge, low competency, right? Then you're stressed out of your mind. If you switch it and you have high capability or competency, but little challenge, then it's too easy and you're bored. So either way, you won't be in flow. So you need a certain level of challenge to get you engaged. And I always think like, how can I make this 4% more challenging? Right? You could walk a little faster, right? You could cook one new healthy meal. You could add one more rep to that curl, right? Remember this, little by little, a little becomes a lot because consistency compounds. Like if you're persistent, you could achieve it, right? You could lose that weight, you can make that money. But if you're consistent, you get to keep it. Remember, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's my experience, it's just way too hard. All right. 1 millimeter at a time. And then finally, as we're going through this, and I appreciate all the comments here. The M, let's call it meaning, because this is everything, right? You don't stay consistent because of logic. You stay consistent because purpose, right? It has to go from your head to your heart to your hands. You could visualize a goal in your head, fitness goal, a health goal, a financial goal, but if you're not acting consistently with your hands, check in with the second H, which is your heart, right? And the heart rep is a symbol for emotion. I'll kind of wrap up with this idea. I was in my neighborhood a few years ago and I saw somebody that I recognized, but I didn't know who it was. And I have the kind of, I need to remember everybody, right? Just a little bit of pressure. And I didn't know who it was until he opened up his mouth and he greeted me and I heard his voice. I knew exactly who he was. But this man looked completely different. Um, the backstory is this person used to be the most unhealthy person that you could imagine. And when I saw him here, he lost his weight. He had this incredible glow. He looked so much younger. And I was like, I believe genius leaves clues. I was like, what are you doing? He tells me all these things he's doing. And I was like, wow, we've been telling you that for years, and you never like did that. Because his identity was he was like his ego was like he saw himself as he took pride in being living a certain lifestyle. And he's like, yeah, but I was traveling one day, and he came back from a business trip, and his daughter was crying profusely, hysterically, and she finds out that she had a dream, a nightmare that he passed away, and it went from his head to his heart. He knew intellectually he should get healthy. He wasn't doing it until he felt it. And so reasons reap results. Reasons reap rewards. Who's like a big thing that drives me is, I think I learned to earn to return. I had all these struggles for all these years with my focus. I was called broken, broken brain. I had self-esteem, all these issues, right? And, I feel like adversity could be an advantage. That with challenge comes change. I don't know one, and I don't know who I'm speaking to here, but I want to remind you, I don't know one strong person that had an easy life, right? So adversity could be an advantage, right? We hear a lot about post-traumatic stress. We don't hear a lot about post-traumatic growth. How many of you have been through adversity, hardship that you won't wish upon anyone, but honestly, you wouldn't change it for yourself because there was a gift there. You found a mission, you found a meaning, you found a strength, you found a trait, it made you who you are. Because if you didn't go through it, you wouldn't be the person you should be proud of that you are today, right? But like for me, I want to do things for people that I care about, do things for the world. That gets me out of my comfort zone because I'm very introverted. JC knows this. But like, who's counting on you to be at your A game? Are you doing it for your family? Are you doing it for your energy? Because nothing tastes as good as just feeling healthy feels, right? Are you doing it for your future? And like I got interviewed someone recently. I'm sorry, I'm going over here. It's just like I'm in like training mode here. Somebody asked me who you want to make proud in your life. Like who are a couple people you want to make proud? And I was like, wow, I've never been asked that question. And I could say my parents, my wife, my kids. But my honest answer, when I was 9 years old, I was being teased. I was called slow. My last name really is Quick. It's not like a stage name. But the teacher would have to repeat herself over and over again because I didn't, just for me in that class. It was very embarrassing, right? She was talking to me, but I was being teased a lot and there was some bullying. And if a teacher came to my defense one morning, she said, leave that kid alone in front of the whole class. She pointed to me, said, leave that kid alone. That's the boy with the broken brain. And I know her intentions are so pure, and I send so much love to her. But like adults have to be very careful because adults' external words become a child's internal words, right? If you have beliefs, Dr. Amen calls them ants, automatic negative thoughts that are holding you back. You weren't born with those thoughts, right? They were imprinted somewhere in your environment, right? And going back to, if you believe you can, either way you're right, like Henry Ford talks about. But I would always say every single time I wasn't picked for sports, which is all the time. Every single time I did badly in school, which is all the time, I'll say, "Oh, it's because I had the broken brain," right? And so, going through that struggle, if I didn't go that way, like my two biggest challenges were learning, right, and public speaking, because my superpower is shrinking, being invisible. I didn't want to be seen because I don't want to be picked on, and I want to be called on in class. And the universe has a sense of humor, right? My two biggest challenges most of my life were learning and public speaking. And what do I do for a living? I public speak on this thing called learning. So life definitely has a sense of humor. But just a reminder, if you're going through those kind of hard times, sometimes we don't understand until we look back why certain things happened or didn't happen. But maybe everything happened in a certain way so you could be the person that you are now, that you should be proud. Because part of, I think, self-care is not just, yes, take your shakes and have high protein meals with adequate amount of fiber for your digestion and follow your health coach's protocols. And also self-care is self-love. Looking in the mirror and looking at that reflection that's looking back and love and sending love to that person who's been through so much but is still standing. And I just want to make this very clear for you. When I say life is C between B and D, and C is choice, you can only make four choices. Like you made the choice to be here today. And I'm hoping you got value out of that. But those little choices, like, there's one of my favorite movies is The Matrix. And I don't know how many of you have seen The Matrix. There's a part where I totally believe that, Denise, that life is not happening, it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And life is also happening through us, right? That sometimes it's not fake it till you make it. Sometimes it's face it till you make it, right? Like it's just like getting through a book. So many people leave comments, if, maybe we're connected on social media, they'll say like, oh, I'm getting through this book. Well, I hope also the book is getting through you, right? So it's a way of embodying this so that you become unrecognizable. Because I do believe there's a version of yourself and your business and your life and your body and your brain that's patiently waiting. And the goal is we show up every single day until we're introduced. So JC, Amy, this, I love so much. I'm like energized, and I don't like to get super energized and like at this hour. But I want to thank everybody for so many beautiful comments here, and I'm wishing you so much love and so much grace.
Wow, that's so cool. And I just want to first of all thank Jim for being here. Um, and you know, I'm so proud of this group of people. Like I've been watching all the comments, it's so amazing to hear Jim say these things and see all the amazing work that everybody in this community is doing. Jim's not, he's a very good talker, but he's even better at walking. He lives this life, and I just want to say how proud I am, and also want to thank Jim for not only his friendship, but a lot of people ask me this, but I read almost a book and a half every week because of this man, and so does my daughter, so we are just so grateful for his friendship, but also what he's taught us. So
Thank you.
I'll throw it back unless you have anything else to say, Jim.
No, I appreciate everybody who has Limitless. The new book, we haven't even released the cover yet, but we just put it on Amazon. You go to limitlessdaily.com and it'll forward if you want to pre-order it, and you'll be the first to do so. But this book, I'm so proud of this. This is next level. It's 366 brain-based keys to master your mind and also unlock your intelligence and win every single day. It's just one page a day. And talk about little becomes a lot, yeah. So we didn't even put the cover on the Amazon page yet. So that's how early you are, in joining us. But yeah, I just submitted the manuscript and it's coming out, you know, uh, in a few months, and I'm so excited about that. But limitlessdaily.com. But
Yeah, and I
thank you.
just want to say that I know Jim very well, and this group is literally the first people that will get
Yeah,
this
it
book.
is. It is. It is. This is
Anyway,
something. This is. If you liked any of these concepts, we literally created 366 on how to just be unstoppable. Every single day in just one page read. So I'm really really proud of it. But it's definitely a labor of love. But I want to thank the two of you. I want to thank the organization. I've had my health crises like over the years, like many people have. JC has helped me through a number of them personally. Um, I would say that there's a quote where a healthy person has 1,000 dreams, and a sick person has one dream, right? Which is to be healthy, and health really is wealth. And so I appreciate how everybody here prioritizes that. And I know we're all at different ages and stages, but I really do believe when it comes to self-love, it's one of those things where we can make a choice to do little things for ourselves and pour into our own cup. Yeah. I always compare life to an egg. That, like, think about it. If an egg is broken by an outside force, then life ends. But if it's broken by an inside force, like it's hatching, then life begins. So it's such a powerful metaphor for me, because great things begin on the inside. And if you're here with us, I don't think it's by accident or coincidence. Uh, you have greatness inside of you, and what would your future self want you, like the two people I want to make proud was that 9-year-old boy that was struggling, and was just ashamed and embarrassed. And then the other person is God willing, that 90-year-old version of myself, is making proud. But like, what would your future self want you to do today? What would they want you to eat today? How would they want you to move today? Or whether it's building your business or building your body or anything else, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs here. Sometimes you have to feed your business until it feeds you back, right? That's kind of an entrepreneur's way, But I respect anyone who's walking the path. So thank you for holding space and inviting me, all of you.
So honored to be here tonight. Just I have wrote so many things down, and I think I'm gonna read this again, the Limitless book, until your next book comes out. Because I was so excited. JC kind of mentioned that earlier before you came on, Jim, and I was like, oh, it's like gonna be something I can dive into every day I wake up. And look at these comments. People are so thankful that you are here. So we're gonna need to have you come back when that book is released and just kind of talk about that, because they even said, I can't wait till I read that, and 366 days later my identity has changed and my life has changed. So such an honor, you guys. We are super excited next week for the Let's Talk Health Pros, and some amazing people are going to be on that also. And thank you all for being here. You know what? This is on podcasts. You guys, you can listen to it. It's on YouTube. You can watch Jim. I felt like you were personally speaking to me, Jim, the whole time. So I was just thank you for this, and we will see you all next week. Same time. Have a good night.